It feels like only yesterday we were all moaning about how Double Exposure was a gigantic mess of a video game, and yet here we are, a year and a half later, and we now have another entry in the Life is Strange series set to release very soon. So here is everything we know about the next installment in the franchise. Life is Strange Reunion is the official title, and that word choice feels extremely deliberate. Reunion feels quite warm and a bit nostalgic, and very emotionally loaded if you've been with this series all the way since the beginning. Square Enix could have gone with something abstract or symbolic, but instead they picked a word that directly points at reconnection, unfinished business, and people being pulled back together. As an idea, I do think that's quite a strong move. It immediately tells longtime fans that this game is looking backwards as much as it's looking forwards, and with many fans thinking that the series has sort of got worse as it's gone on, I think that's a really smart decision. But I still feel like this also frames the experience as something pretty damn personal. Despite all the powers in Life is Strange, it is the relationships you build with the characters that's really the series' biggest strength. The game will release on the 26th of March this year, and I feel that a spring launch gives this game room to breathe, but I still think it's a bit of a weird timing. It avoids the end of year release crush. I was really surprised by this date though. For a start, it is just so close. It's going to be around a year and a half from Double Exposure, which I have 2 videos on by the way. Go and check them out. I really thought that this game would release in the end of the year. From a player perspective though, I think this is a really good sign. Life is Strange games do live and die on their mood, their pacing and their immersion, and a quieter release window really helps protect that atmosphere. Platform-wise, Reunion is coming to PlayStation 5, both Xbox Series consoles and PC. There is no last-gen support here as far as I can tell, which is a clear statement of intent. Deck 9 and Square Enix are committing fully to current hardware, and that should translate into some pretty nice details and whatever with the lighting and the animations in the game. The downside is obviously the accessibility. If you are still stuck on older consoles, then you are getting left behind, and for a series that's built its reputation on being approachable and inclusive, I think that's a little bittersweet. It's also going to cost £44.99 digitally, compared to Double Exposure $74.99. How was that game so expensive? There will also be a physical version of the game. Development is being handled by Deck 9 once again, and at this point Deck 9 is a familiar name in the Life is Strange ecosystem, for better or for worse. Pretty much the entire community is completely split on Deck 9 since they took over from Don't Nod. Me personally, I was a fan of True Colours, I just loved the atmosphere and everything, but I really did not like Double Exposure at all, and as I mentioned earlier, 2 videos going into great detail about why that I will link in the description. Alright, now this is where things are going to start getting a bit spicy and a little bit nerve-wracking in that very specific Life is Strange way. We're going to talk about the story. So yes, the big news is that Chloe Price is back, and there is no way to talk about Reunion without sitting with that for just a second. Seeing Chloe return alongside Max is exciting. For a lot of players, Chloe is more than just a character. To a lot of people, she is Life is Strange. The idea of spending more time with her again feels warm and thrilling and slightly unreal, but at the same time, this is also where caution lights start blinking a little bit for me. I'm going to assume that everybody here has played the first Life is Strange. If you haven't, then you should probably skip forward a little bit, I don't know. Because if you did play the first Life is Strange game, then you will know that for a lot of players, Chloe is dead. The Bay ending is canon to their experience, and Reunion has to respect that. You can't just drop Chloe back into the story and expect everyone to just nod along happily. That would feel careless. The good news is that the series already gave itself a narrative toolset to handle something this complicated, whether it was intentional or not. With Double Exposure introducing fractured and overlapping timelines, it feels likely that Reunion will lean into that idea, possibly merging or colliding alternate realities where Chloe lived and where she didn't. Conceptually, that's actually a solid-ish approach, and it's a really good get out of jail free card, but it also honours both endings without declaring one wrong. But it also raises the stakes dramatically. The risk is clarity. If this gets too vague or hand-wavy, it could feel pretty damn hollow. If it's handled carefully, it could be devastating in the best way. But there's also a risk with this. Nobody who has Chloe die in their Life is Strange 1 playthrough actually wanted Chloe to die. They just couldn't justify keeping her alive at the expense of the entirety of Arcadia Bay. Whichever decision you chose, that was a consequence. The entire series is about consequences. Chloe coming back has a very real chance of completely diluting the impact of the first game's ending. This is something they really need to handle with care, and if we were to use Double Exposure as a case study, I don't have 100% faith that they can. Chloe's presence during all of this is of course going to be the emotional wildcard. How she reacts to Max's life now, how much she remembers, whether she fully belongs in this version of reality that the game will take place. These are all questions that are hanging up in the air right now, and this is where Reunion really needs to be careful. Chloe cannot just be fan service. There's also the sad reality that Ashley Birch is not returning to voice Chloe, which is understandably disappointing for a lot of us. Ashley's performance helped define Chloe as a character, but with that said, Rihanna DeVries is returning and she already proved herself in Before the Storm. Her performance of Chloe felt raw and honest, especially in the moments of grief and the anger. If Reunion leans into those qualities, then I feel like Rihanna could absolutely do Chloe justice once again. Hannah Tell is also returning as Max, thank God. All of this makes Chloe's return feel like both a gift and a test. It's wonderful to see her again, it really is, but this is one of those moments where the series can either create something deeply meaningful or undercut its legacy. The pieces are there now, the idea makes sense, but now it just comes down to execution and restraint. The story itself centres on Max as an adult, now working as a photography teacher at Caledon University once again. The inciting incident appears to be a catastrophic fire on campus. There is something very Life is Strange about this setup, a normal, cosy environment shattered by a sudden disaster, followed by the question of how much responsibility Max carries for what happens next. The Life is Strange series has had a bit of a problem with reusing its setups and its plotlines, like the murder mystery in True Colours mirroring the murder mystery of the first game, and now we have Reunion seemingly using the fire as a mirror to the storm from the first game. I hope that it does still feel new and fresh instead of just rehashing something that they know worked. From there, though, the game gives Max a tight window of 3 days to figure out what caused the fire and how to stop it from ever happening. That kind of time pressure works well for this series, it creates urgency without turning the game into something that's a bit too thrilling, and it mirrors the original structure, as I just mentioned. Still, the success of this idea depends on pacing. 3 days can feel intense and intimate, or rushed and cramped. Depending on how much space the story gives its quieter moments, which is something I really think the Life is Strange series needs to focus on. I think whether this shorter period works or not really depends on how well the moments where not much are happening really land. With it only being 3 days, I'm also inclined to believe this game will be much shorter than the previous entries. In combination with the lower price point, I think this is a fair estimate. On top of that, we know that characters from Double Exposure are coming back. Moses has been confirmed, my absolute king, I love this dude, and Safi is obviously returning as well, very likely continuing her role as an antagonist that Double Exposure set up. Loretta is also another character confirmed to be back, so yay. Before we get into the confirmed gameplay mechanics, if you are enjoying this video, then please consider subscribing, as I upload at least one video every single week. Thank you very much. But Max has her rewind powers again, and that alone is going to hit a lot of people right in the chest. Rewinding time is such a core part of what made the original Life is Strange feel quite special, not just as a mechanic, but as an emotional idea. It was never really about fixing puzzles. It was about sitting with regret, curiosity, and the temptation to make things perfect. Bringing that power back feels right, especially in a story that's all about revisiting the past and dealing with consequences that never fully went away. I did enjoy the timeline-centered gameplay of Double Exposure in all honesty, but I'm glad to see Rewind coming back regardless. What helps balance this out is the fact that Chloe is playable again, and with that comes the return of backtalk, which lets her push conversations, challenge people, and pull information out of tense situations. That contrast between Max and Chloe is one of the best aspects Reunion has going for it. Max is reflective, careful, and always thinking about the outcomes. Chloe is reactive, emotional, and confrontational. Switching between these perspectives has the potential to deepen the scenes of the game in really interesting ways, but the risk here is the balance. Chloe needs to feel meaningful to play as, and not just as a side mode you tolerate so you can get back to playing as Max. We also know how the game is going to handle your past choices, specifically the Bay and Bay endings from the original game. Square Enix has confirmed that you will be able to select the choices you made in previous games at the start of this one, similar to what they did with Double Exposure, where you could tell everybody that Chloe had died. Taken together, these systems suggest a game that's genuinely trying to reconcile its past rather than run from it. Max's rewind, Chloe's backtalk, the weight of old decisions all point toward a story that understands, or at least wants you to think it understands, why people cared so much in the first place. There is real potential here for something thoughtful and emotionally honest. There's also real room for missteps, especially when nostalgia and expectation are this high, it can reek of desperation. So where that leaves Reunion, at least right now, is in this very delicate space. It feels hopeful, but not blindly so. It feels ambitious, but aware of the risks. Bringing Max and Chloe back, giving players control over both of them, asking us to revisit these choices and these people. If the game treats these moments with care and patience, it could feel like a nice conversation with our past selves. If it utilises the nostalgia to bring the series forward, then that is ultimately, I think, the best case scenario. And honestly, if Reunion ends up being less about fixing what was broken and more about learning to live with it, then that might be the most Life is Strange thing it could possibly do. If you made it this far into the video, then you're awesome, and I want to let you know that I do have videos on every single Life is Strange game and Lost Records as well. But if you enjoyed this one, then leaving a like and telling me in the comments would be greatly appreciated. Subscribing probably wouldn't be a terrible idea either, since I upload at least one video a week. We've also recently enabled memberships on the channel, which can give you access to early uploads. There's no pressure whatsoever, but if you wanted to support the channel, then the option is there. But right now, that is all. Have a nice day, and goodbye.